Bears lost by 3 points again. Again. It's all about coaching. It's about coaching. When you lose that many games that are so close in terms of margin, it comes down to the coaching. We clearly have a quarterback. I know people were doubtful before. People were asking for Justin Fields again. They were saying, oh, we miss Justin Fields. We want Justin Fields back. Like, this is the biggest pain point that I have with a lot of Chicago fans, is you're so wish-washy. You praise everyone that first comes here, and then when they struggle, all of a sudden, you want them out. You want the last quarterback that we had last year. And it's absurd. You have to get all in at some point. And I think that's why it's so hard to play here. It's like we have the best fans in the world, but it's hard to keep our loyalty. In fact, look at what happened with Derrick Rose. Everyone says, oh, don't say anything bad about Derrick Rose. He's a hero. He's amazing. He's an icon. He's the rose that came from the concrete. But you forget how for 2 years you roasted the man. Roasted him for being injured. He kept getting injury after injury, and the jokes and the memes and all of the criticism came out about how he couldn't keep himself healthy. Yet now you want to celebrate him. It's no wonder why he doesn't want to come back to Chicago. Why he had all these opportunities to sign with Chicago, but he didn't. Because he remembers you Chicago fans giving him hell for getting hurt. Absolute hell. There was no marches in the streets when the word went out that he got traded. Nothing. So then when I get ready to criticize the man or bring up an argument that says, hey, maybe he wasn't the best for the franchise, all of a sudden people are up in arms. But you weren't up in arms when he was getting hurt constantly, huh? So let me just get into it. Because Matt Eberflus has been fired. It was definitely going to happen. Reading between the tea leaves, that was going to happen. We cannot keep getting publicly embarrassed every game by a marginal amount, a very small marginal amount of points, and for a coach in the NFL to keep their job. But let's go on to Derrick Rose, because we are going to celebrate and honor him apparently on January 4th against the Knicks. I just want to bring up an argument. It's interesting to think about. What would life have been like for Chicago sports if we didn't draft Derrick Rose number 1? Was it a mistake? Was it the biggest mistake that the Bulls franchise has ever made? So let's think about it. Who was getting drafted in that draft? Who could we have picked up instead of Derrick Rose? Because when we drafted him, there was a lot of issues that people didn't even bother to look at. First of all, the big controversies that came with him from college. One, that he never took his own tests. He had somebody else take tests for him because he really wasn't supposed to be at Memphis. He couldn't qualify because of his grades. And then on top of it, he had their titles, their record removed from the history books because he wasn't even supposed to be at Memphis. So there's a history of cheating. And then let's talk about the controversy that he brought up on his own at that barbershop podcast in New York about him having a little altercation with some woman who he says that him and a bunch of other buddies were having fun with. And it was nothing. It was just, oh, we're just going to choo-choo. And it's nothing. Like, kind of makes me question his morality, his moral compass. And on Twitter, when I questioned his moral compass, oh my God, did I get so much hate for just pointing out, hey, Derrick, you could have any woman that you probably want at this point. You seem like a really nice guy. You got everything going for you. Just pick one. Do you need to bust into college dorm rooms and entangle yourself with 6 other dudes? Like, what are we doing here? What type of moral compass do you have? Are you really somebody that kids can look up to? So let's just start off with that. Now, if I look at the draft and I say, you know what? Derrick Rose is the obvious number 1 pick. But look at all the controversies that are coming with him. Maybe his mindset's not all there. Maybe he's got a little bit of growing up to do. Who do I look in the pool of players and see that they're available? Who is it that I could pick? How about Russell Westbrook? Now imagine Russell Westbrook coming to Chicago, having the pressure, the Jordan pressure of performing in Chicago with the team that they had, with the Jimmy Butlers, with the Joakim Noah, with Luol Deng, with Taj Gibson. Think about peak Russell Westbrook with that squad. I think we could have beaten LeBron. I think we could have advanced to the finals with that squad. Because look at what happened with OKC when it was just him and Durant. And they didn't have the type of squad that the Bulls had. Think about a 6'4", perfect, in his prime, explosive, leading all-time leader in triple doubles on the Bulls. Does Jimmy Butler stay? Do the Bulls finally get past the Cavs, the Heat? I think they do. I think an argument can be made that they do. And so I have more to say about this, and you will have to read about it or see my short documentary called The Mistake. Did Derrick Rose ruin the Bulls franchise? Let's talk about Trump. When I simply wanted to create a platform to talk about politics in a healthy way across various social media platforms, I was immediately labeled MAGA. I was labeled a crazy right-wing conservative. People immediately got defensive, but the only thing they got defensive about was Trump. Now, my candidate was RFK. That's who I wanted to vote for. So when he opted out and decided to join Trump because he would have an opportunity to make America healthy again, I said, okay, by proxy of RFK, Trump is going to be the person that I vote for. And only because the policies of the last 4 years and 12 out of 16 years have led us to this point now where you're no longer able to have a healthy conversation with someone if you oppose their views. You are no longer able to question things, to be critical of things. We see that the economy is worse than it's ever been, at least for some people, at least for the middle class, the upper class, the working class. It's been harder and harder and harder to keep up. I talked to so many families, so many people saying that they work 2 or 3 jobs. That's the common answer I get. How's it going? Oh, I'm crazy tired. I work 2 or 3 jobs. Our family dynamics have completely changed where now instead of you getting excited about people coming over your house, you're getting offended. And I'm not saying that's the fault of the presidency, but the federal government sends a message, sends a spirit of governance into the land. And when you have very loose policies regarding the border, regarding safety, regarding spending, things get out of control. Now, I'm very thankful to be in a blue state, in a blue city. But very extreme liberalism, that is actually not liberalism at all, has actually taken over and left us former Democrats behind, to the point where now I'm an independent. And I have to look at policies, and I have to look at individuals and their track record and what they've been able to do. I didn't like how we didn't have a speed primary for the Democratic nominee. We bypassed democracy and just appointed somebody as the candidate. And I like Kamala, and I think she's fun, and I think she can get things done. I just think we didn't have enough time to really vet her experience and what she's been able to do, because she's been in a VP role for the last 4 years. We haven't really seen what she's able to do. The only thing that I've heard of what she's been able to do in California, which was lock up the record number of colored folks that the state has ever seen, black and brown people. Now, of course, that's going to be hyperbole and probably not the truth. But when you look at a state like California and you see the state that it's in, you see the rampant homelessness, the crime, the theft, the laws that were passed to basically get people out of jail, no problem, 5-time, 6-time offenders. If you're a father and you have a family, you have to look at those policies and say, this doesn't work for the betterment of society. It works for a fringe case, for a fringe amount of cases where people have been wrongly convicted or they've been maliciously prosecuted. In fact, there's people right now that were dope dealers and sold weed, and they're still locked up. Even though there's tons and tons of companies making millions of dollars selling marijuana, selling products, selling cannabis, selling all this THC stuff. And we still have people locked up for this. This makes no sense. We have the strictest gun laws, some of the most strict gun laws in Illinois. Yet we have murder after murder after murder and gun violence after gun violence after gun violence. We have all these issues, yet we have these strict laws. So does it really work? Or is it time to innovate? Isn't it time to innovate our policing strategies? Is it time to develop new technologies which allow you to apprehend suspects without actually harming them? Using drones, using some type of technology that disables weapons, that strips metal objects out of a car or disarms them somehow. Like, we need to advance our technology so that we can be more humane. Even things like abortion. Why does abortion have to be so barbaric? We should be at a place in society where if somebody's not ready to be a parent or their health is threatened, you can do both. You can get mom what she needs, and you can also save the baby. Why do we have to be on opposite sides all the time? We can save mom, we can save the baby. We can apprehend criminals, but also make sure that they don't die because somebody is having an episode or PTSD on the job. You try arresting and confronting criminals for 24 hours and see if you have patience. We need to stop living in barbarism and advance our methods so that we can be more humane as a society. And so this is your chance now. We have all seen our federal politics are screwed up. It's all a circus. It's all a show. When Peanut the squirrel becomes trends among conservatives, Peanut the damn squirrel is the reason why people vote. That's a scary thing about society. That's a scary thing that's trending. When people make hurtful comments about Haitians and Puerto Ricans. And the timing of it is absolutely atrocious. And that becomes the political fire or the wood that starts flames and encourages people to vote. That's the catalyst. Now all of a sudden people care about Puerto Rico. You should have been cared about Puerto Rico. You should have cared about Puerto Rico for a long time, since the beginning. You saying that, oh, there's a bunch of Haitians in this community, so they're eating cats and dogs. And then that trends on social media as a joke? It's not a joke. That's horrible. That's gaslighting. That's what our politics have become. Just so people can get famous and make money and gaslight people and get followings. It's no longer about serving the best interest of society, the moral interests of society. So it's up to us. It's up to us to make a difference in our households and in our local communities, and pray that that starts to push up to the federal level, because they're lost, folks. They're lost. When a famous TV personality, somebody that has been in the self-help space, is able to become president because our politicians are so greedy and so lost, that's something we all need to be afraid of. In fact, I think the solution is to do away with competing against parties and actually come together. There should no longer be a sole president. There should be two active presidents working on behalf of the two parties, so that each party will be able to produce their best candidate to join the other party's candidate to making the country better. So everybody's interests are covered, and not just one interest, but everybody. That's what I think we need to work towards. We need to work towards voting on solutions and not just people. Meaning, if we do a large vote on if we want a policy to go into effect, instead of making Congress do it, we put it to a popular vote. And if that's what people want, then that's what goes into effect. It's time to rise up and take accountability for our families, for our neighborhoods, and for our own lives. And this is the Miles Pod.